we are going to do some introductions. A lot of you here are international guests, so there would be some basic introduction as to who they are, where they come from, and where their companies are. So starting with Jonas, can you introduce yourself, Allente, and along with that, can you tell us one big challenge that you faced today?
Thank you, and thanks for having me. So my name is Jonas. I'm the group CEO of Allente. So Allente being a Nordic TV distributor with a presence across Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway. We reach roughly 10% of all the households in the Nordics. And as Trine also mentioned previously on stage, we built Allente roughly 3.5 years ago with combining Canal Digital and Viasat into Allente. But the mother companies go way back, so a history from the early 90s. So that's Allente. And the largest challenge and the largest problem, I think I got 99 challenges and 99 problems, as someone said. But I think if you look at our business, it is to a large extent a large part of it is a legacy business, which is going through a structural decline. At the same time, we have a number of different growth verticals where we sort of tap into new revenue streams. That balance in ensuring that you find the financing from the legacy business and really can aggressively invest in order to sort of cater for all the trends. That is the biggest problem and the largest challenge, and it's a big one.
We'll dig into those challenges later this afternoon too. Marius, along with your introduction, one juicy secret or detail from Telia.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm Marius. I head up the technology side for TV in Telia. Telia, as many of you know, is a large telco here in the region. We service all the Nordic countries and all the Baltic countries as well. I think the juiciest thing in Telia right now is that we just announced a new CEO, Patrick Hoffbauer, which some of you might know from before. He has some Telenor background there, so I'm pretty happy with that, actually, having a CEO which has some TV background rather than just some dude who loves mobile. It's a juicy good story from me.
No one needs to be introduced to Bjarne from NRK, but what don't we know about you? And what don't we know about NRK?
Probably a lot, I guess, especially about me. And that won't be relevant here. But I'll tell you a little bit about NRK, for those of you who don't know the company. Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation is the English word for it. It's very much like the BBC, basically, but of course a little bit smaller, since we're just 6 million people in this country. We do radio, television, online services, streaming services, regional television, regional radio, podcasts, and everything, basically the same thing as a big public broadcaster does. We're still relevant as a public broadcaster. Not every public broadcaster have been able to stay relevant, but 90% of the Norwegian population every day touches within one or more NRK products or transmissions or services. So we're very, very proud of that, staying relevant. And I think that's also some of the big issues and some of the hard thing to be relevant in this market, where a whole lot of new companies with the new offers from the US and international are on the way in and really competing about people's time. That's for a small broadcaster. That's a big thing to stay relevant. And also the technology is very shifting. We are an old company. We have a lot of legacy also. As a broadcaster, all broadcaster now turning all that technology over to new technology to be more competitive. It's a costly affair, but we have to do it to still stay relevant in the future. I do distribution basically, so I have radio and television and also online services as a distribution portfolio, both the older or more traditional television and radio, but also the newer streaming services, CDNs and things like that we also deal with. We try to see within one portfolio, when we see the audience is moving from the old stuff to the new stuff, we also have to try to take all the resources and move that with the audience, which is not that easy when it comes to being an old broadcaster, basically.
I have to love the fact that you still describe yourself as a small broadcaster.
Well, in Norway we're a big one, but internationally we're pretty small, I'm afraid.
I know.
And Stein, you've got a new role in Telenor. What are your own personal achievements this year alongside the streaming service from Telenor? What have you seen this year?
Thanks for having me. My name is Stein. So I had this new role for 9 months. I'm leading the Norwegian TV service of Telenor Norway. So we have approximately 500,000 subscribers in Norway. What I think we have done greatly in terms of, streaming and VOD is that we're embracing, as an aggregator, we're embracing the shift from linear TV into the new world of streaming services and consuming content OTT. I think there's a role for the aggregator in the future as well. And I think, we're moving ahead in that world as well. We have a lot of different customer segments to cover, so we have to move forward in the tempo of our customer base. But I think we're doing a quite good job there, and it's a fun job to have in Telenor.
We'd love to hear about your achievements, of course, but what are the challenges and what's the difficult part of this achievement?
What we have focused a lot on the last couple of years is, like I said, embracing the new streaming behavior. We think there's a role for us as an aggregator to help consumers navigate in a very fragmented content world. And one of the things I'm most proud of that we have accomplished the last years is to build a foundation of being very good at content discovery. We have taken large steps. We have built a lot of enablers over the last couple of years, but now is trying to realize the customer value and have our customer base to see the benefits of having everything one place. Paying everything over one bill, I have one gate to all the content. But to get that understanding into the customer base, that's a challenge, and that's maybe one of our core challenges now.
As a small broadcaster, I think one of your mandates is to be available pretty much everywhere for everyone.
Absolutely.
Equally available in the social Norway. Mm-hmm. What's your biggest challenge for that? And what's your biggest success in doing that?
Well, first of all, being available to all has been, for a traditional broadcaster, a very expensive thing to do. You need to have expensive transmitter networks around the country. Both radio and television cost a lot. But moving from that to the internet revolution, where basically now 98% of households have a high-speed broadband in the Nordics, about almost at least. These guys are working on that. We go to another kind of distribution which is available for everyone. So everyone that has broadband today has an internet connection. Basically, also have NRK's services available. So the broadband build out is helping us very much to be more available for the people and the customers and the viewers and the listeners out there. And also then being able to move some of our resources from the more traditional networks that are pretty costly. So absolutely, internet and broadband is democratizing distribution, basically. And that's good for us.
And Marius, you come from a group, Telia, today, but you were a part of Get in Norway, a successful cable company. What's been the differences between running a cable company in one country versus multiple streaming services in many? What's the differences and what's the biggest success story in which country in these multiple Telia countries that you're responsible for?
Oh, it's a long question, AJ. But you're right. I came from Get and I was lucky to be part of this evolution that you describe. I think Get was a fantastic company. It was very innovative and everything. And there are cultural changes that accommodate being part of a larger thing. Challenges, I would say, was the fragmentation of the countries. When I started in the role, I think we had 10 approximately TV platforms all over the markets. We're down to 6 now, so we're not winning any prizes, but at least the trend is decreasing. That's also kind of what I would say is the greatest success, although perhaps more so in bringing the people together rather than bringing down the number of platforms. Because I think even though we are more fragmented in locations and everything, I think that we have a much stronger team, a much larger team, a team that can devote more attention to doing the details right. And I think our product is benefiting from that. And of course, the value that our customers get from it as well.
Jonas, Allente is one of 2 pay TV operators who have launched an OTT service here in Norway. What is something that you would boast of in that road to launching such an OTT service? What's the most difficult thing in doing something like that?
I think the sort of the launch of the Allente OTT streaming service, which is essentially for everyone's information, the customer proposition is really sort of combining a traditional linear offering with different bundles on various SVOD services. And there's a competing service, so called Stream. So we're basically 2 in this pond at this point in time. I think at the end of the day, it is sort of looking at the Norwegian market, it is quite difficult to differentiate from a pure content perspective, because we're in a situation where everyone has access to all kind of content. So it comes down to the user experience, ensuring that you can drive engagement with the customers, but also it is commercial excellence and sort of finding the right packages, ensuring that you find a proposition that is relevant to a large part of the market, and finding collaboration with the broadcasters, not only NRK, but also the international ones, but the other locals. So finding that sort of the best proposition is really the USP.
We're one small broadcaster here, so let's bully him. What is the most challenging thing while working with NRK for the operators here on stage?
What's most challenging with the operators?
If the operators, let them take on you first.
Okay, yeah, oh yeah, I should.
Who else?
Yeah.
I like you.
Is NRK easy to work with?
Easy and easy. I mean, it all depends on who you compare with. I would say in the relative terms, they're quite easy, definitely. So I would sort of echo the other one's noddings here. But, at the end of the day, I think they're quite easy to work with. I must say, there are other ones that are more tricky.
Okay, let's see if
I think if you're going to review our last years of who has gone black and everything, and you won't be topping that list. And I think that comes from you having a little bit of a different mission. You want to be there for people. We want to be part of that travel as well.
And I can actually answer your question, basically. What we are discussing in this industry is what we are as a public broadcasters. We're not out there to make money. We don't need the most eyeballs on one show. We have a remit or a mission, which is to educate, to entertain, which is something more than actually doing business. The best way for us to do that is not with one program alone, but with a combination of programs where we have the entertaining stuff that really draw eyeballs, and you program that with the important stuff, maybe a documentary or so. We have been doing this in public broadcasting for many years in linear, where we have used lead-in effects, basically programming something very entertaining, very broad entertaining, family entertaining, but also together with important stuff. When it comes to the new world and OTT, you have to do that programming a little bit different because people are watching what they want to watch. They're not watching that much linear. So we need to actually do recommendations in our way to actually being able to fulfill that mission of being a public broadcaster.
And that again, we have a need to get the public to our basic service, to get that data and make the public recommendations. And the best way of doing that is actually to get the viewers to our service, which you have seen some examples on earlier today, because then we can fulfill that mission there. If third parties are going to take our stuff and do their way of programming, putting up this and this and this, that mainly doesn't fulfill our mission. So that is the debates that we are having, and that's also why we do not, let every third party ingest all of our content, because it's not about having eyeballs; it's about something else. But we do find good solutions. I think also you understand that the public broadcaster is something other than a commercial broadcaster, and we have to work on a little other terms, basically. So I think that was actually what you wanted to get into, that we are a little bit reluctant to put all our content out there on different platforms. We basically now want to use the internet and the possibilities to go directly to the end user and show them, what we got and fulfill our mission there. And this is nothing new. Even the commercial, corporations are doing it. Disney are doing it. HBO been doing it, and so on. So it's basically nothing new. That with internet you can reach, that's over the top. You could actually reach the end user directly with your content or your mission or whatever it might be. And of course, we are doing that. So there's might be a little bit of conflict or interest here with the distribution operator and some of the content producers and broadcasting houses out there. How are we going to fulfill that?
I'm only scratching.
Yeah.
I think the idea of this is that we all compete, sure, but we also need to collaborate at the end of the day. The biggest question is, as global giants enter the market, globalization is something that's good, bad, and ugly. In a small market like Norway, we need to figure out how do we compete with something that we can't, and what sort of collaborations that you guys can do. Marius, we can start with you. What kind of collaborations do you ever have with any other telco in the local regional markets or with broadcasters?
With any other telco, I think it's fairly limited. Or obviously we have kind of industry associations like Cable Norway, which promotes our interests to the government and such. But we're not a cartel. It's not we're not going to team up on you, except on stage, of course. As for broadcasters, obviously we own TV4 and MTV Katsovo in Finland. So those are the obvious answers. But I like this guy. Might be because I'm Norwegian, and we collaborate a bit with TV2 on a special plane. But that's about it.
I guess you need to coordinate with broadcasters if you're not working with your other telcos in the region. What about Jonas? Do you ever work with other telcos, including one of your part owners who's sitting on stage?
Both yes and no, I would say. I mean, the collaboration, so Allente is 50% owned by Telenor and 50% owned by Viaplay Group. I mean, if you look at Telenor, which obviously have a lot of different legs and a lot of different parts of their business, they are the satellite provider for Allente's business across the Nordic. So in that sense, we have a very close collaboration, supplier versus partner. And then there are other parts of the business, which is obviously everything that is market facing is highly regulated, right? We're not allowed to have a collaboration with Stein. So I think we're competing at the end of the day on the market head to head. It's the same customers. So, from that sense, I would love to steal all Stein's customers that I potentially can. But then there are other areas where you can think about potential collaborations when it comes to, the entire sort of technology experience, the back end, the user experience, where there are potential partnerships. But I think it's sort of two-folded. Market facing, it is head-on competition, and that's the way it needs to be, given our setup.
Stein, do you feel that there should be some sort of collaboration with a company like Allente, where you have such a proximity, including office space, which is next door?
I don't know if I should comment on Allente specifically, but I think, there are, common industry challenges where a collaboration makes sense. I think maybe piracy as one topic where there is collaboration through different bodies. So that could be one part. Another perspective could, of course, be as the TV market is in somewhat decline, there could be that there is, to realize economies of scale in a small market, you could look for a different way of solving various parts that would not be market facing, as Jonas mentioned. But maybe.
I think the piracy point is a very good one, because that's a industry-wide challenge, and it's a big one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever spoken about piracy amongst the four of you as companies?
There's a forum across the Nordics, which is called the Nordic Content Protection Forum, I think, where we are all members, I would expect. And I think that's really a platform and something that is coming out with quite concrete sort of actions towards piracy. So I think that's a very good sort of example that Stein brought up, because that's something that would benefit all of us.
Fight your enemies together.
Exactly.
Bjarne?
Yeah, sure.
I think when you talk about globalization, of course, there are sustainability aspects to business, which means that you should work and collaborate with other companies. As a public broadcaster, SVT in Sweden, DR in Denmark, the BBC in the UK, any cool stories to share how you actually collaborate, reuse things that exist?
Yeah, I think the Nordic collaboration within the public broadcasters has been more and more important in the years now, and especially when we saw Netflix entering the Nordic market. We, of course, NRK was already there with the streaming services, but we saw that we needed to have more compelling content in the Nordics. So I think one of the first and most important collaboration we did with our sister companies in the other Nordic countries was that we went together and said that we're going to produce a Nordic drama series, so we're going to produce, everyone is going to produce two or three every year and going to share them. So we can get more compelling and more high quality Nordic noir drama on each platform. So on that part, it's been a very important collaboration. That's more on the content side, of course, but in that situation, it was important to have more high quality content to compete with the new players that were coming into the market. So, and that's still going strong on the content side, especially on the Nordic drama side. We do a lot of collaboration. We do some on the technical side also, but again, even the Nordics are very similar, a little bit different also markets. So we mainly do our own services, but we do have collaboration on, this is our best case, this didn't go that good, and so on. So we learn from each other and each other's mistakes. We have a lot of Nordic forests where we exchange technical issues also. Yeah.
I don't watch TV, as I said earlier today, but when I did prepare for this panel, I watched all the apps. What I found was NRK is not listed in a couple of apps as a channel. You do not support the OTT plans for Allente and Riks TV, and you can't, or you don't want to.
I can answer that. It's a good question, actually, and it's a little bit back to what I answered earlier about us now using the internet as a distribution form, which is there, and it's like we have full distribution on the internet, so we do not necessarily need the distribution from the other OTT players. When it comes to satellite, cable, and those kind of networks, we need the distribution, basically. We didn't own those networks, so the collaboration was more tight because they actually gave us something more and more value when it comes to distribution. When it comes to internet, we have the same abilities that the OTT companies have. And again, we want to have the user use our applications so we can fulfill our mission. So when it comes to OTT-only operators, we said, okay, here is where we are going to say stop. We do not want our channels incorporated in their service. They can link to us, and Stream does that. They're linked to our channels, which works pretty good. But we basically want to serve our customers or our viewers ourselves on this platform because we are available on it for free, basically. So it's basically a need, but it's also a strategy, which is kind of the whole picture of what we have said.
The way I read this is it's based on your need, not on the others.
Of course, we are okay. We have a mission. We are thinking actually about how we are going to fulfill that mission, not how we are going to build up other entities. We're not in business for that.
Any disagreements?
Sorry, here.
Any disagreements?
I think,
Yes.
at the end of the day, we're talking with the public broadcasters, and you mentioned it as well, that, you're sort of non-profit in that sense, which makes it a bit more difficult, because if we could just pay up for the money, maybe we would be able to get that access. But obviously, there's a lot of great content on NRK, and we would benefit from having it on our OTT service. But there are solutions and sort of commercial setups where you can get it.
Yeah.
But for many other of the commercial broadcasters would have a larger financial interest, that could sort of could be the key to that situation.
Mm. And I can say that the operators and these partners, because they really are partners, are doing really good work also with putting together a whole lot of content for the end user. I think that's probably the biggest value proposition, that you are combining all at one place, and probably packaging it somehow also, so maybe the pricing gets a little bit better than buying it all. And I can see that proposition, basically. And we're trying to find ways that we also can be included in that, but also can fulfill our mission as a public broadcaster. It's a difficult line, but we are working on it every day, basically, to see how we can fit into that picture.
I think, like, in our case, of course, you're supposed to treat all the Norwegian operators equally. Whether they have an OTT service or not is a different story, which means that you need to treat all the OTT services in Norway and globally equally too. Is it fair?
Yes and no. That was the old thought, but still we have to treat people, basically, the viewers, equally. Everyone should, get NRK. With internet, much of that is covered. And when it comes to more traditional companies, we try to treat them equally, absolutely. The only thing that we have said is that when you go and know a clean OTT operator, we don't want to do that, basically. But when it comes to other technologies, we are treating everybody alike. And should we treat like Apple and Amazon the same way as our local partners? We don't necessarily have to do that. Because we're in Norway with a kind of a local media industry, and we have also in our charter something about that we should support our local media industry also. And that might sometimes say that we are doing this with local partners, but we're doing maybe other things with international partners. I don't know if that answers your question, but
we can discuss what it brings. I think the idea about NRK that I'm trying to promote is that as a public broadcaster, there are certain responsibilities to have towards the public, but also towards Norwegian local companies, which essentially become the part of what I believe is a public in a regional local space with globalization coming. So that's a deeper topic. But a quick question, because we have so many pay TV operators here, is a big pink elephant question. Do you think that there is a future for TV for telcos when broadcasters, as Bjarne said, do what they need?
Do you want to go on that?
You got to answer that one.
No. I think it's an interesting follow-up to what you said. Obviously, our role is to be the anti-fragmentation, and is to be the aggregator that helps people. And in the end, that is a customer journey kind of proposition, which is why we're annoyed at you for locking up your content, of course, although we understand your reasons. As for the strategic position, is there value in being aggregator? Yes, I think so. And I think that the more direct-to-consumer services you see, the more value is in that proposition. That's full. I honestly don't think that your regular consumer wants to have 19 streaming services. And that's where we have our role, I guess.
Stein.
I think telcos have fantastic abilities in moving packages, whether it's content or other things, out into the market. Most telcos have distribution power in terms of whether it's being physical shops or other abilities to sell and market stuff and brand it. So I think there's definitely a future for I would say the operator segment. The operator segment has a tradition for aggregating content. That's what we've been doing ever since we started. It started within their channels, and it has evolved into a lot more. And I think there's possibilities to ride that wave also in the future, because I think there will be a need for it. I think we have different capabilities than other companies.
I think that telcos need to have a TV offering as part of their total proposition. I don't think that the telcos necessarily need to do it by themselves. And the story goes, there's been a lot of sort of convergence was the buzzword of this industry. If you would have gone to this conference 5 years ago or 10 years ago, everyone spoke about convergence. I think that the telco industry is going to be so focused on the core business over the coming 5-10 years, being mobile and broadband. And then those going to be the core products. And then you could have different add-on products, whether it's security, whether it's TV, whether it's something else. And when I look at the TV distribution industry, it's going to be a scale game going forward. You need to have scale to be able to invest in content. Content is going to be much more expensive in the Nordics. We've seen that. Sports inflation is just going through the roof. There's been so much content produced over the last period. And then you need to have scale to invest in technology. But I think from a customer-facing perspective, you need to have it. I'm not sure that telcos would need to do it by themselves. They could partner up.
Jonas, we said earlier that you're one of 2 telcos here in Norway that own an OTT streaming service. You own Stream and Riks TV owns Stream. They have very similar names. Is there a reason? Will they merge? Who will buy who?
It's a good question. I think just from a structural and from a strategic perspective, it would make sense. We're equally sized today. It would create a power play sized company. If anyone in the audience have a few hundred millions that can offer, we would be the one who would acquire Stream. I think there's a case.
Marius, Telia owns TV4, MTV. There's a lot of chatter going on around it for a long, long time. Do you think that TV4 in Sweden needs to merge with TV2 in Norway, or maybe TV2 in Denmark? Do you think they should? Do you think they shouldn't?
We're having one of these for each of us.
And then the audience.
No, it's an interesting match. It would require more than a couple of 100 million. But I wouldn't bet my house on it.
What do you think should happen? Should it or not?
I don't know. I honestly don't care really.
What I want to do is spread some damn rumors today. So my rumor, Microsoft is going to buy Netflix, not Google. Sorry, Justin. But Bjarne, if you have to spread one rumor of any international merger acquisition.
I'm not sure about that. The Microsoft Netflix rumor is interesting. It's already been out there. I know Reuters also reported on that. That might be a thing. Amazon got their Prime and Apple got their Apple Plus. Maybe Microsoft will benefit from that collaboration. The president of Microsoft is in the board of Netflix already, so maybe, I don't know. I think what Microsoft has been doing, which is interesting, is heavily into the gaming and bought Activision, for instance. So maybe they're going a little bit the other way. I think the Nordics is the most exciting when it comes to what is going to happen. We know that Viaplay is not very, they're doing very good when it comes to the economics. There might happen something there. We know that the Norwegian newspaper house ships that have bought 10% of Viaplay. There's something going to happen there. I don't know. I do care though, but I really don't know what's going to happen. But I'm pretty sure something is going to happen, in the coming month in the Nordics. I'm pretty sure, but some kind of dynamic is going to happen there. The problem with all the acquisition rumors is that nobody basically has money to buy anything these days, because everything's so expensive and it's hard to get capital basically to do that. So, but maybe you can see some mergers on equal terms. I don't know.
I think if you don't buy each other, somebody from abroad is going to come and buy you. I think the idea for me to ask Stein is, within the Nordics, do you predict any such merger acquisition that we should be aware of? Do you want to predict any merger or acquisition between TV companies or services within the Nordics?
No, I'm not sure whether I should predict anything, but maybe as a general observation, I think that in the economic climate where we are now, I wonder for how long we will have 3 local big media houses in the Norwegian country, for instance. I think the long tail of local channels is getting shorter. So that could be one observation. The second observation is that, we have been arguing for several years that the streaming market is very fragmented. It's still very fragmented, but I think it will stop scaling at the pace it's doing now at some point. And then something will happen. But I guess Bjarne mentioned it. There is a certain streaming company in Sweden where a few shares have shifted hands over the past couple of months. So I think that that's a bet, maybe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Eric, for keeping the time. No thanks to me. We're a little late.